So we're digging into this idea from the book AI Value Creators. It basically says generative AI, it's like a huge Netscape moment, a real game changer. It means businesses have to change strategy, like right now, if they want to keep growing. And this kind of massive shift, it really demands 3 key strategic moves from leaders. Okay, first big idea. You got to flip the script. Forget just tacking on AI, like plus AI. The move now is AI plus, meaning you rebuild your whole workflow around AI from the get-go. And why? Well, think about it. Fewer workers globally, higher debt. AI is pretty much the only way left to get those big productivity jumps we need for growth. Second, what makes AI really work? It kind of boils down to 4 things. Foundation models, like LLMs, plus your data, governance, and use cases. Now, the models are the tech, sure, but your own company data, that's the real long-term edge. So the goal isn't just using off-the-shelf AI. Nah, you need to become an AI value creator, tuning those models with your unique data to get results nobody else can. And finally, leaders face this tricky balance, right? You've got massive disruption and you've got to be responsible about it. How? Focus on 3 things: leadership that's both urgent and ethical, a serious plan for upskilling basically everyone, and being open, transparent platforms and data to cut down risks like bias or leaks. So becoming an AI value creator, it's about weaving AI responsibly and strategically right into the heart of how your business grows and stands out.
Distributors can benefit from the quick cash that accounts receivable factoring can provide. Contact Chris at Versant Funding to get your client funded fast.
Welcome to The Debate. Our focus today is really on this essential shift organizations, they have to make in the age of generative AI. We're looking at material that lays out this necessary evolution from simply, adding AI, what the source calls the plus AI mindset, to truly becoming an AI-first organization. That's the AI plus mindset. And really, at its core, this shift is defined by how businesses choose to consume this transformative technology.
Right, and the source material does a good job, I think, of mapping out the 2 main paths here. So on one side, you've got the, let's say, easily accessible AI user model that's using embedded software features or, pretty straightforward third-party API calls. Then on the other side, there's this intensive, high-investment AI value creator model. And that one demands building a unified internal platform, implementing really stringent governance, and crucially fine-tuning foundation models, the FMs, using proprietary unique enterprise data.
Exactly. So the central question for us today, therefore, is whether becoming an AI value creator, and that comes with significant platform investment, data governance requirements, a real commitment to control, is that the necessary path for achieving long-term business differentiation, for sustained value? I'm going to argue that, given the economic realities we're seeing, it's really the only viable long-term strategy for survival and, frankly, for true growth.
That's definitely a strong claim, but I believe we have to start with, the pragmatic realities. I'm going to argue that the readily accessible AI user model offers immediate, competitive, and, frankly, sufficient benefits to establish a new, higher baseline for productivity. And it does that without the immediate huge capital expenditure and, let's face it, the existential organizational risk that comes with trying to build a proprietary platform infrastructure right out of the gate.
Well, my position is really dictated by what I see as an inescapable macroeconomic imperative, something outlined right there in the source. We know economic growth, GDP, it's now almost entirely reliant on productivity growth. Factors like shrinking workforces, aging populations, the sustained burden of high debt, these are fundamentally working against most global economies. AI isn't optional here. It's the essential catalyst to get that necessary productivity boost. And just relying on the passive plus AI model, just bolting AI onto old processes, that's not going to deliver the scale of growth we need. True sustained success requires transforming to this dynamic AI plus mindset, which basically means AI informs the starting point of your business model. And this requires becoming an AI value creator, controlling that full AI success equation, the FM, plus your data, plus governance, plus the use cases.
I'd really emphasize that the only sustainable competitive advantage, long-term, will come from proprietary data used to steer those FMMs. As the material points out,
FMMs trained on, the public internet, they're going to commoditize fast. So if the model itself becomes cheap, your unique internal data, accessible only through a controlled platform model, that becomes the single differentiator. Relying on the AI user model, those kind of opaque API calls to external vendors, well, it's inherently risky. You give up control over model training, over governance, and worse, the vendor extracts proprietary value from your usage patterns. That creates a strategic imbalance the source clearly warns us against.
Okay, look, I fully agree on the urgency. The productivity crisis is real. But I think the value creator approach is maybe a solution searching for a practical starting line for most companies. The immediate value delivered by the AI user model is, I believe, sufficient to establish that necessary higher baseline for productivity that your business needs today. AI baked into off-the-shelf software, whether it's an advanced writing assistant like Grammarly or some optimization software, it makes hundreds, maybe thousands of employees faster and better, almost immediately. It levels the playing field. And for a massive technological shift like this, sometimes the path of least resistance is actually the wisest starting point. The source itself wisely advises that probably the safest generative AI place to begin is with an internal automation use case, something like optimizing internal HR processes, maybe vacation booking, right? This is a classic spend money to save money strategy. It's focused on cost reduction, and it's perfectly executed using the lower cost, simpler AI user consumption model. This lets an organization, as they put it, get on first base. It creates what the authors call renovation dollars. And just to be clear for everyone listening, renovation dollars mean that measurable surplus budget generated by cost savings, which is absolutely essential funding for later, maybe higher risk innovation. Now, the shift to AI value creator, on the other hand, requires building out a sophisticated platform, that whole layer cake concept, including a unified information architecture, a data fabric. That is a massive, complex undertaking. Few organizations really have the immediate resources or, frankly, the organizational readiness to handle that right now. That complexity is a practical impediment to growth. Whereas the AI user approach democratizes AI immediately, boasting the productivity of the many without requiring massive company-wide upskilling in, data science fundamentals right away.
I see why you prioritize those immediate renovation dollars. I do. But the AI user approach, by its nature, is inherently limited. It supports the old, non-scalable plus AI mindset, basically just optimizing existing workflows, which might even be broken to begin with. That level of efficiency, yeah, it's helpful, but it doesn't achieve the scale of growth required by those macro trends we talked about earlier. The real transformational value, the kind that truly moves the needle on national productivity, that comes from the AI plus mindset, the one that reimagines entirely new workflows based on native AI capabilities. And this, fundamentally, requires the full platform approach of the AI value creator. If we look at that Ackermann curve described in the material, the goal isn't just to hang out on the left side with optimization and automation, it's to maximize the value curve. And that curve steepens dramatically towards the right side, modernization and transformation.
That transformation piece, creating entirely new AI-driven business models, that's fundamentally unattainable if you're merely consuming embedded, commoditized AI that, well, everyone else has access to as well.
That's a compelling argument for the final destination, sure. But transformation has to be funded. If you look at that same Ackermann curve, the fastest, most certain path to generate capital is through automation. Spending money to save money. We're talking about real measurable business value delivered in months, not, years potentially. The cost reduction examples given in the material, like deflecting support agent costs dramatically from $5 down to 25 cents, or automating routine operational inspections, like potato wart identification. These are classic AI user use cases. These savings create that indispensable surplus budget, the renovation dollars that must then be deployed to fund that later innovation, to shift right, as they say. You simply can't start building the top floors of that layer cake if you haven't got the budget to even pour the foundation. Renovation, I'd argue, is the crucial prerequisite for transformation.
I'm just not convinced by that focus on speed, when it seems to come at the expense of control and, frankly, accountability. Surrendering control to some opaque, proprietary API service fundamentally undermines trust.
It dramatically increases risk precisely where the business is most accountable, legally and socially, for the final outcomes. External models expose you to risks like, well, confabulations, hallucinations, and critically, the inadvertent leakage of proprietary or sensitive data back into public training domains.
Strong governance, which is only truly possible within the AI Value Creator platform, where you manage data lineage, you track model drift, you audit for bias, that becomes the ultimate license to operate. I mean, if you can't tell a regulator exactly how and why your AI made a certain decision, you are fundamentally exposed. That's a vital point on accountability, absolutely. But I might frame the risk a bit differently. The source material itself gives us a pretty stark example of a public failure. Remember the global shipping bot that basically went off the rails? Now, that failure stemmed primarily from a lack of guardrails and safe use protocols, not necessarily the consumption model itself. I mean, even the value creator has to initially trust a foundational model trained by someone else, right? IBM, Google, Meta, whoever. The key, I think, is safe adoption pacing. We have to remember that the initial risk profile of internal automation, like that example of helping employees book vacation days, is quiet, it's internal. If the model makes a mistake there, the failure is contained. It's not out there for the whole world to see and ridicule. Starting safe with the AI user model allows the organization to build confidence, to build experience. It allows them to fail fast, fail forward, and fail safe, as the saying goes. And that mitigates catastrophic reputational risk before they attempt those high-stakes, public-facing transformation projects that, yes, probably do require full value creator capability down the line.
But relying just on the safe start kind of ignores the technological shifts happening right now that make the platform approach more feasible than it ever was before. Comparing the complexity of the AI value creator model today to traditional AI methods, well, it's a bit misleading. Remember, traditional AI required painstakingly labeled, massive datasets specific to one task. The self-supervised learning inherent in modern LMs greatly decreases the preparatory work needed for fine-tuning. That efficiency gain, I believe, shifts the advantage back towards the platform builders, towards the value creators. The ability now to use one versatile LM for multiple tasks, summarization, translation, named entity resolution, you name it, that replaces the old slow process of building separate teams and bespoke models for every single little task. That acceleration means organizations can now scale their AI initiatives with less time and less data administration than was previously possible. It makes the platform viable today, and frankly, it makes the time spent just consuming basic APIs feel a bit like a missed opportunity for building real proprietary differentiation.
You're zeroing in on the model build time, which has gotten faster, I grant you that. But I think you're maybe neglecting the monumental structural effort needed just to implement and operate the required enterprise data infrastructure underneath it all. The AI value creator approach demands a comprehensive information architecture, what the source calls a data fabric, to make sure data is properly organized, governed, prepared for AI consumption at scale. And the reality, as anyone who's tried knows, building that fabric is like trying to reorganize every single shelf in a massive chaotic library before you're allowed to check out a single book.
Right. The AI user model bypasses that need for full immediate data organization and fabric construction. It enables rapid deployment of assistants and embedded AI that immediately boost human productivity. We all know sitting here that getting consensus and actually implementing a unified data fabric
That often takes longer than building the AI model itself. And the widespread lack of needed AI leadership, I mean, the source mentions 1 in 5 companies planning not to use AI, citing skills gaps and data complexity. That just shows that the high bar of AI value creation is currently a massive practical impediment to the growth they urgently need. The AI user model is the bridge across that gap, at least initially.
Okay, this discussion really highlights a critical tension, doesn't it? While the AI user path, yes, it offers immediate, accessible productivity gains, it gets the organization on first base, establishing a necessary baseline. I still maintain that sustained growth and competitive advantage in this, well, generation-defining Netscape moment, it demands the intentional move towards AI value creation. By controlling the platform, managing the governance, steering the LLMs with unique proprietary data, businesses ensure they accrue defensible long-term value. They move beyond just optimization towards genuine transformation.
And the challenge facing organizations is just too urgent.
That productivity malaise has to be addressed now to wait for the years it might take to build full AI value creator capabilities from scratch. The AI user model provides the fastest, the safest, and likely the most affordable route to cost reduction and widespread adoption. It creates those essential renovation dollars required to eventually fund that innovation shift, moving to the right side of the acumen curve. So the path forward, I think, has to be a balance where rapid responsibility and market disruption can coexist. And for the vast majority of organizations today, that coexistence starts with the pragmatic, lower-risk adoption offered by simply consuming AI services first.
Indeed. And that fundamental tension between the necessity of immediate productivity boosts and the clear imperative for long-term differentiation, that's really what organizations have got to navigate right now as they define their generative AI strategy. There is certainly more to explore in the material, particularly around the financial models needed to support these different paths.
Factoring can meet the cash needs of staffing companies looking to expand. Contact Chris at Versant Funding to learn if your staffing client is a factoring fit.
AI productivity imperative.
Yeah, it's definitely top of mind for everyone right now.
It really is. Our sources are pretty unanimous on this. This technology is forcing a fundamental shift in corporate strategy. It demands that companies stop simply adding AI to old processes.
Right, that sort of bolt-on approach.
Exactly. And instead embrace an AI-first mindset. We're moving from what they call the plus AI approach to the transformative AI plus, say.
And that's our mission today, isn't it?
Yeah.
To give you the shortcut to understanding the stakes, we need to unpack what this radical AI plus shift really means, why the urgency is driven by these big global macroeconomic forces, and crucially, how you stop being just a passive AI user and start becoming an active AI value creator.
And we have to start with the clock ticking. I mean, our sources equate this moment to the debut of the Netscape browser back in '94, a true Netscape moment.
Wow. Yeah, that's a powerful comparison.
It really is. That single event democratized the internet, fundamentally changed how humans communicate, store data, interact globally. I mean, everything changed. And if you missed that first wave, well, you didn't really get a second chance, did you?
No, you didn't. And this feels like that same dividing line, only arguably moving even faster. The authors suggest AI will become so indispensable, so deeply integrated into the background fabric of our operations, that we should eventually just start calling it ambient intelligence. It's always assisting, always there, seamlessly anticipating needs.
Okay, let's unpack this necessary mindset change then. Moving from plus AI to AI plus SAN. But hang on, isn't the incremental improvement of the plus AI mindset safer? I mean, if I'm a CFO, why would I risk rebuilding my entire operation around a nascent technology rather than just bolting a chatbot onto my existing workflow for some quick, predictable wins?
Oh. That calculation, that thinking, is the core danger of this Netscape moment. What feels safer right now? That incremental improvement, it practically guarantees obsolescence later. The plus AI mindset is applying AI to existing traditional tech strategies. It offers small gains.
Which is comfortable, I suppose.
It is. It feels familiar. But the AI plus mindset, that's the future. It means putting AI first, really reimagining your entire business model, building entirely new workflows that are constructed around what AI can uniquely achieve.
Okay.
That means the companies that embrace AI plus now, they're the ones who will define their sectors a decade from now. They aren't just gaining productivity, they are fundamentally redefining how value is created in their space.
I think what makes this shift possible, maybe, for everyone, is the democratization of this powerful tech. Suddenly, non-technical people are given these sort of superpowers just using natural language prompts. You don't need a massive team of data scientists to start getting serious productivity boosts.
It definitely feels like magic sometimes. The complexity is hidden, But we have to remember, AI is fundamentally math and statistics. When you input a phrase, large language model reads that sequence and then mathematically guesses the next most probable word or sequence, like don't cry over spilled
milk.
Exactly. It's predicting based on patterns in vast amounts of data it's seen that a large number guessing model, essentially.
So it's a highly advanced statistical prediction model, not sorcery.
Got it. And understanding that grounding in science, rather than treating it like some mystical black box, That's what will truly allow companies to leverage it strategically, right?
Precisely. So if AI plus is the destination, what's driving this level of urgency? Why can't we just, slowly adopt this over the next 5 years or so?
Well, that brings us to the macroeconomic imperative. Our sources summarize this with 3 key equations, and the first one really dictates how nations and businesses grow. Okay. Equation 1, that's GDP growth increase equals population increase plus productivity increase plus debt increase. Now look at the global reality, populations. Well, they're declining in many major economies. Forecasts show millions lower by 2100, so that's working against growth.
Right. That lever's kind of stuck. And debt is the second factor. I mean, the era of near-zero interest rates is over. Capital is harder and more expensive to secure now, so debt is also working against sustained growth.
That leaves only one lever, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Productivity. It is the only way, really, for almost all businesses and governments to drive sustained, non-inflationary growth.
Yeah.
And we have this global productivity malaise right now. The U.S. is growing at a, frankly, weak 1.4%. Canada actually declined 1.8% in 2023.
Wow.
So AI is the essential answer to solve this crisis.
So AI isn't just a nice-to-have technology. It's basically a global economic necessity. But this leads to that central paradox you mentioned. Because AI is so disruptive and essential, yet it must be deployed safely. The core reality is that responsibility and disruption must coexist. We have to move fast, but we have to do it responsibly.
Which brings us neatly to equation 2. This is the framework for actually achieving success in this new landscape. AI success equals foundation models plus data plus governance plus use cases.
Okay, 4 elements: foundation models, data, governance, use cases. Now, of those 4, the source material argues the most critical element for sustainable competitive advantage is data.
Yeah.
But wait, everyone's talking about the power of the foundation models, right? The latest LLMs trained on the whole internet, aren't those the most important part?
They are incredibly powerful, absolutely. But that general knowledge, the stuff trained on the open internet, that will commoditize. I mean, eventually, everyone can access a general model that summarizes the history of World War II or writes a generic email. Sustainable competitive advantage comes from taking those foundation models and tuning them, refining them with your proprietary institutional knowledge data that isn't on the internet.
Ah, so you mean the internal stuff, like my specific logistics costs or our patient outcomes, my unique manufacturing defect patterns, or maybe why our customers tend to churn.
Exactly. That's the moat. That's your unique advantage.
Yeah.
And that choice then defines who you are in this new world. Are you just an AI user, someone using external models, basically outsourcing control and sharing whatever value gets created? Or are you an AI value creator, someone who owns and tunes the models using their unique proprietary data?
Right.
Look, if you don't own the data input, you ultimately don't own the value output.
That makes sense. Okay, so to become that value creator, we need a map, right? The author suggests that without a proper classification framework, AI plans can be nothing short of fantasy. Just, technical curiosity instead of tangible business outcomes.
Exactly. And that framework has 2 key dimensions. Dimension 1 addresses the budget and the goal. Are you renovating or are you innovating?
Okay, renovation versus innovation. Renovation is spending money to save money, pure cost reduction, like automating internal labor, fixing existing processes.
Right.
And innovation is spending money to make money, pursuing entirely new business models or services that maybe didn't even exist before AI made them possible.
And ideally, a project can actually evolve from one to the other.
Yeah.
There's that potato company anecdote in the sources.
Yeah, I remember that one.
They first invested in AI to get better at processing word-infested potatoes, right?
Yeah.
That was a cost-saving renovation. It optimized their internal workflow. But that efficiency freed up budget.
And that budget allowed them to reestablish export relationships, access new foreign markets, which was the genuine innovation. That was the new revenue stream. So it wasn't one big leap. It was a renovation that actually enabled the innovation later.
Precisely. Then dimension 2 categorizes how AI actually helps the business. Automation, optimization, or prediction.
Right.
Automation is pretty straightforward cost saving, often involving agentic AI now to handle repeatable tasks, like summarizing a help desk ticket and automatically routing it to the right team.
Okay. And optimization. That also saves money, but by refining existing processes in a smarter way.
Exactly. Think about delivering highly personalized outreach messages, hitting the perfect time, using the right modality, all to increase conversion rates within your existing customer cohorts. Smarter execution of what you already do.
Got it. And finally, prediction. That sounds like the make money piece.
It often is. It involves things like nowcasting, using real-time sales data to predict which products will sell out and which will underperform. That lets you discount the underperformers earlier, more strategically, avoiding those massive end-of-season margin-destroying cuts.
Okay. And when you plot these projects on what they call the acumen curve, the value increases as you move from cost reduction, the renovation stuff on the left, towards transformation, the innovation on the right. So if you're just starting out, the advice is the safest place to gain experience is by focusing on internal automation projects first. Spend money to save money, learn the ropes.
Yeah, that's generally the recommendation. Gaining experience there gives you the confidence and, critically, the data foundation necessary to then move right on that curve towards real innovation.
Speaking of automation, that leads us right into agentic AI. You mentioned it briefly. This sounds like the next wave. It's goal-oriented, not just task-oriented, right? The AI itself defines the workflow logic and autonomously plans future actions to hit a specific goal.
Yes, and it's highly collaborative. Imagine a group of AI agents, maybe a researcher agent, a blog writer agent, and a social media poster agent collaborating to write a post on inflation.
Okay.
They don't just complete individual steps in sequence, they coordinate. They assess the target audience for each platform, adapting the style, maybe using emojis and informal language for Instagram, but sticking to professional language for LinkedIn, shortening it for X, all to achieve the single overriding goal: publish relevant, tailored content across all channels effectively.
Wow. That's a step change. And this capability enables what the authors call a shift left and a shift right for the business. Shift left meaning reducing costs, defects, or injuries earlier in the cycle, ideally before they become big, expensive problems.
Exactly. And we saw some profoundly impactful healthcare examples here.
Yeah, those really stood out. They put the business imperative into human terms. Take the mechanized wheelchair example.
Right. 20% of users experience a collision every single year. That results in millions in damages, serious injuries. AI, collision avoidance systems, CAS, they shift left the injuries, the accidents, the insurance payouts by preventing the incident from happening in the first place.
That's huge. Or the example of diabetic foot ulcers. #1 cause of foot amputations in the U.S. An amputation happens every 3 minutes.
Just staggering.
And early detection via thermometry, maybe using connected bath mats at home to detect those inflammation hotspots, it shifts the variance cost dramatically. Treating a diabetic with an ulcer costs about $58,000 per year versus $17,000 per year without.
That's nearly a $40,000 annual difference per patient. That variance cost is shifted away from expensive, late-stage treatment toward proactive cure and better management. That shift-left concept isn't just business savings. It's potentially preventing human catastrophe and redefining quality of care.
Absolutely. It truly puts the meaning of this whole AI plus shift into perspective.
It really does.
And then there's the shift, right? The strategic transformation into entirely new business models.
Yeah, and we see historical examples of companies failing this. Kodak, famously, failed to shift right because they thought they were in the film business, not the memory-making business.
Right, they missed the digital wave.
Completely. Whereas Garmin succeeded. They realized they were in the business of mapping everything, shifting right from just car GPS to tracking marine activities, hiking, golf, fitness. Generative AI allows a similar shift right. For instance, in worksite insurance risk monitoring.
How so?
Instead of just paying out after an accident, AI could track compliance and spot safety violations in real-time video feeds, moving from reactive payout to proactive prevention. That's a whole new model for insurance.
Okay, so we know the imperative is productivity. The mindset needs to be AI plus SIS, and we have these frameworks like renovation, innovation, and the acumen curve to classify projects. What are the final keys then? How do you actually start this value creation journey successfully?
Well, the sources summarize the core strategy with a third equation. Finding the balance equals leadership plus skills plus open. You absolutely must lead responsibly. You have to upskill everyone in the organization. And critically, you need to embrace open innovation rather than getting locked into closed proprietary systems.
Makes sense. Leadership, skills, openness. And what are the 5 critical sort of actionable tips that tie this all together for you listening right now?
Okay, 5 key takeaways.
Yeah.
First, act with urgency. This moment is transformative. Move with rehearsed steps, not panic, but you absolutely have to move.
No, wait.
Don't wait. Second, be an AI value creator, not just an occasional AI user. Do not reduce your company's strategy to just making an API call someone else's model. Own your proprietary data and tune your models with it. That is your sustainable long-term advantage.
Okay, third.
Third, one model will not rule them all, so make a bet on community. There are already over 1 million LMs out there, and that number's growing fast. Businesses must leverage open platforms that let you mix and match models, both open source and proprietary, for specific tasks and needs. Betting big on the open AI community, like places like Hugging Face, is critical.
Right, flexibility is key. Number 4.
Fourth, run everywhere efficiently. You need to optimize for performance, latency, and cost. That means building on open hybrid technologies that can run models where they make the most sense, sometimes in the cloud, sometimes right at the edge, maybe even on that connected bathroom mat we talked about. Analyze data where it lives.
Got it. And the final one, number 5.
And finally, fifth, and maybe most importantly, be responsible, because trust is the ultimate license to operate. Governance, fairness, explainability, ethics, these must be implemented at the very heart of the AI lifecycle, right from day one. Remember, you lose trust in buckets, but you only gain it back in tiny droplets.
That's a powerful reminder. Okay, so the shift to an AI plus mindset powered by your customized proprietary data. It's clearly the only sustainable way for businesses to overcome these global productivity challenges and really maximize growth. This feels like the new foundation, and yeah, the time for just experimenting seems over.
I think so. The path forward requires a new level of skill, definitely focused leadership, and a real willingness to embrace the profound disruption that AI brings. And frankly, for the global economy to sustain itself, we desperately need this productivity boost.
So here's a final thought we want to leave you with as you close out this deep dive. We've all seen what happens to companies that resist change instead of embracing disruption. Technology spending has already rocketed from about 5% of global GDP to maybe 15% in the last 15 years alone.
It's incredibly growth.
It really is. And it is certainly not out of the realm of possibility that the world will get to 20%, 25%, maybe even 35% of GDP spending on technology in the not too distant future. So the question is, where will your business be when that happens?
Something to think about. Thank you for joining us for the deep dive.
We'll catch you on the next one.
Processing companies can fund their growth using the cash accounts receivable factoring can provide. Contact Chris at Versant Funding to learn if your client is a factoring fit.
Generative AI isn't just another tool. It's a massive strategic pivot point.
Exactly.
So our mission, yours and mine, is to dive into why there's such intense economic pressure behind this shift, and critically, how we move past just using AI to actually becoming, AI value creators.
And look, if that sounds like maybe a bit much hyperbole, the sources we looked at draw this direct line back to 1994, Netscape.
Right, the Netscape moment.
Yeah, that browser hitting the scene basically democratized the internet. It changed, well, everything. How we store data, how we talk to each other, commerce.
Voting, even. Everything.
Absolutely. And the argument is, missing this Gen AI moment, it could have huge, maybe even irreversible consequences for businesses, maybe even society.
The stakes feel incredibly high then, and the core idea you're highlighting is this shift from, a pro-plus AI mindset.
Right. Just sort of bolting AI onto our existing, often messy workflows.
Okay, so moving from that to an AI plus mindset, where AI is baked in from the start, like the first principle of design.
That's the goal. And that AI plus approach, it's pushing us towards something pretty profound. Ambient intelligence.
Ambient intelligence,
Yeah.
like electricity or light.
Kinda, think about it. It's not in your face. It's just there, running in the background, helping out with almost everything we do. That's where AI is headed.
But what's forcing everyone's hand? Why the rush?
It really comes down to pure economic survival. Seriously.
I found this Woodrow Wilson quote from, 1907, talking about living in a confused, bewildered age. It's a good reminder that this tech angst, it's not new.
Not at all. Queen Elizabeth I, way back when, refused the patent for a mechanical knitting machine. Why? She feared job losses.
But that machine ended up driving the Industrial Revolution.
Precisely. So fast forward to today, what's the specific economic gun to our heads demanding we adopt AI despite all the, the anxiety?
Okay, lay it out for us.
It boils down to a really fundamental equation about GDP growth. Look, there are basically 3 main levers you can pull to expand an economy.
3 levers. Okay.
Population growth, access to debt, usually cheap debt, and gains in productivity. If you want your economy to grow, you need at least one of those. Ideally more, pushing upwards.
And the problem is, globally, 2 of those levers are, they're working against us right now, aren't they?
Exactly right. Across most major economies, populations are actually declining. That pulls growth down.
Yeah.
At the same time,
Heat money's gone.
yeah, the era of easy, cheap debt over. Capital is tighter, it's more expensive to borrow. So you look at the big picture, the macro trends, and the only viable lever left for sustained economic growth is, well, massive improvements in productivity.
And the sources really hammer this home. Canada's productivity is apparently declining. The U.S. is stuck at, what, 1.4% growth?
Yeah.
That's pretty lackluster.
It is, and McKinsey estimates the U.S. alone could add something like $10 trillion to its GDP if it just got back to its historical productivity rates. So this isn't just a nice to have. AI is basically being recruited to solve a fundamental economic crisis.
Which brings us smack into the core paradox, doesn't it?
It really does. If productivity is the only game in town,
Then companies have to lean into AI. They have to adopt it.
they must. But, and this is the tough part, they have to do it responsibly, knowing it's going to cause disruption.
Yeah.
Because the alternative, standing still,
Means you just fall behind. Guarantee it.
right. So responsibility and disruption, they have to coexist somehow.
Okay, that tees up the tech itself. We need to pull back the curtain a bit. Arthur C. Clarke's line about advanced tech being like magic.
Indistinguishable from magic, yeah.
But the sources are clear. AI is absolutely not magic.
No, it's just incredibly advanced math, phenomenal math, really. At its core, AI is about connecting data points, they call them vectors, to predict what comes next, specifically number sequences.
Wait, so an LLM, a large language model, isn't really about language.
Not directly. It's better to think of it as a large sequence number model.
So if I type, say, don't cry over spilled milk,
Yep.
the AI doesn't understand the saying.
Nope. It sees a string of numbers, data points, like, number A, number B, number C, whatever represents those words.
And it's just predicting the most likely next number in that sequence, mathematically. No actual comprehension.
Exactly. And getting that it's all just incredibly complex math is the key to understanding where this is going next, the next productivity wave, which is agentic AI.
Okay, agentic AI. Most of us right now are AI users, right?
Yeah.
We use it in a task-oriented way. Summarize this document, draft this email.
Yep, that's task-oriented. You tell it the specific task.
So how is agentic AI different?
Agentic AI is goal-oriented. Big difference. You give the agent an objective, a goal. Maybe it's increase Q3 sales of product X by 10% in Europe.
Okay, a high-level goal.
Right. And the agent, which is steered by the LLM, figures out the steps needed. It determines the plan, breaks it down into tasks, manages the flow, executes the actions, all autonomously, without you holding its hand the whole way.
The examples in the sources were pretty striking, like a marketing director sets one goal. Launch a blog post about this new feature.
And then a crew of agents takes over. One researches, one drafts, others tailor it for different social platforms, formal for LinkedIn, different tone and emojis for Instagram.
All autonomously from that one initial goal.
Yeah. Or think about that shopping agent from Perplexity.
The one that can browse a website and check out.
Right. Maybe using a single-use debit card from Stripe or something. The point is, the agent is laser-focused on completing the objective. Buy the item. That's it.
Hang on. If the agent is that focused on the goal, say buying bread, it doesn't have that squirrel moment we all have at Costco, right? Where you go in for milk and somehow leave with $200 worth of stuff.
That's exactly the insight. And it's huge for retailers. They rely on those impulse buys. They rely on you browsing, seeing things you didn't know you needed.
So if agents just go in, get the bread, and leave.
It fundamentally disrupts the impulse purchase economy. It bypasses browsing. Great for your efficiency as a consumer, maybe, but a massive headache for traditional retail margins and the data they collect.
Okay, wow. So we get the economic pressure. We see the tech is moving towards this autonomous, agentic execution. But Thomas Edison's quote comes to mind. Vision without execution is hallucination.
Good one. Very apt.
So what's the roadmap? How do organizations actually do this? How do they execute?
The sources give us a pretty clear framework, actually. Two main dimensions. First, you have to classify your spending intent.
Okay.
Are you spending money to save money? That's renovation. Or are you spending money to make money? That's innovation.
Renovation versus innovation. And that distinction matters.
As renovation often has to fund innovation. Think about that potato company example.
The one with 30 million pounds of potatoes. Yeah, tell us about that.
Okay, so they invested in tech that's a renovation cost to get better at spotting and washing the warty potatoes, the ones that were hard to process manually.
So automation to cut labor costs and waste.
Exactly. Big savings. Then they took those savings
and plowed them into innovation.
Right. Rebuilding export relationships, finding new markets for those previously wasted potatoes. They used cost savings from renovation to fuel new growth through innovation. It's a cycle.
Makes sense. Okay,
Yeah.
so that's the first dimension. Spending intent. What's the second?
The second dimension is categorizing how AI is actually helping the business. Is it primarily about automation, optimization, or prediction?
Automation, optimization, prediction. Break those down.
Automation is the straightforward stuff.
Heavy lifting.
Using agents to summarize help desk tickets and route them, maybe even handle basic follow-ups, automating routine paperwork, the drudgery.
Got it. Optimization.
That's about making existing processes better, often through personalization at scale. So instead of just blasting a sales campaign to a demographic, you tailor the outreach. Maybe customize the message, the timing, even the communication channel, email, text, whatever, based on that individual's preferences or past behavior.
Okay. More targeted, more effective. And prediction.
That's where you often see the really immediate financial impact. Using techniques like nowcasting, analyzing real-time data, like from point-of-sale systems.
To predict what's going to happen next.
Exactly. Predict when a product line will sell out, or maybe more importantly, when it's going to underperform. That lets businesses maybe discount that slow-moving inventory sooner, get something back instead of nothing, maximize returns.
These frameworks, renovation, innovation, and automation optimization prediction, they map onto this idea of an acumen curve, right? Visualizing value creation.
Precisely. The curve shows that value generally increases as you move away from simple cost reduction, the renovation end towards genuine business transformation, which is innovation. This leads to the concepts of shift left and shift right.
Okay, shift left. That sounds like renovation catching problems earlier to cut costs and defects down the line. The DFU example seems really powerful here.
It really is. A DFU is a diabetic foot ulcer. Treating a patient who develops one can cost the healthcare system like $58,000 a year without one, maybe $17,000. Huge difference. Now, DFUs often start with inflammation, and you can detect that inflammation early before the ulcer forms using things like thermometry, maybe from a connected bathroom mat or smart socks.
You catch it super early.
Right. That early detection, that prevention, that's a massive shift left moment. It avoids the huge costs and suffering later on. It captures the value upstream.
And we see similar shift left plays elsewhere, like the mechanized wheelchairs.
Yeah. The source mentioned that about 1 in 5 wheelchair users has a collision each year. Adding AI-powered collision avoidance systems that shifts left. It avoids the costs of accidents, potential injuries, hospital visits.
Okay, so shift left is about preventing problems, saving money early. What about shift right?
Shift right is the innovation side. It's about dreaming up entirely new business models, new ways to create value. This is often where companies make or break it. Think Kodak.
The classic example. They failed to shift right.
Totally. They thought they were in the film business, but they should have realized they were in the memory-making business. Digital came along and they missed the shift.
Contrast that with Garmin. They successfully shifted right.
Big time. They started with, those dashboard GPS units for cars. Pretty static product. But they shifted right into providing dynamic, detailed mapping services for boats, planes, hikers. Whole new business model.
And we're seeing new shift right models emerging with AI now. The insurance example.
That one's fascinating. Imagine an AI vision system on a construction site. It's constantly monitoring for safety compliance. Are workers wearing hard hats? Are they too close to high voltage lines?
Okay.
And based on that real-time data, the insurance premium adjusts. Maybe daily, maybe hourly. It incentivizes compliance constantly, creating a whole new dynamic insurance model.
So for an organization listening right now, maybe feeling a bit overwhelmed, what's the starting advice? Where do you begin?
The consensus seems to be, start safe, minimize your risk initially, focus on an internal automation use case. That's your spend money to save money renovation play.
Like hitting a single in baseball, not swinging for a home run right away.
Exactly. Maybe use AI to help employees book vacation time or draft initial versions of internal compliance documents. Stuff where if it messes up slightly, it's not a public disaster.
Right. Keep it internal first.
Build skills, build confidence, get some quick wins, save some money. Then you can start tackling the bigger shift right projects.
Okay, that path makes sense. Which leads us, I think, to the ultimate strategic distinction the sources make. The difference between being an AI user and an AI value creator.
This is really the crux of it.
So the AI user, what defines them?
They're essentially consuming AI that someone else built. Either it's just baked into the software they buy, which, raises the baseline for everyone, but offers zero competitive advantage, or
they're making API calls to someone else's big model, like OpenAI or Google.
Right. And that approach, using those APIs, It feels easy, but it's fundamentally opaque and risky.
Risky how?
Well, you have zero control over how that model was trained, what data it used, the governance around it, and there's always the risk, subtle or not, that the vendor is actually extracting value, maybe even proprietary insights, back from your usage, from your data.
Okay, that's a serious concern. So the AI value creator takes a different approach.
Completely different. They use an AI platform approach. They build, they train, they fine-tune, they steer the models using their own proprietary data.
They maintain control.
Yes. And crucially, by doing that, they accrue unique business value, value that competitors who are just using generic APIs cannot replicate.
And the recipe for that success, the sources boiled it down to an equation, right? AI success equals FMs plus data plus governance plus use cases.
That's the formula. Foundation models, your data, strong governance, and clear use cases. But if you have to pick the single most critical element,
It's the data, your own data.
absolutely. Your proprietary data is the only truly sustainable competitive advantage in the long run.
Why is that the only sustainable one?
Think about it. All the big foundation models, whether it's ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, or the open source ones, they're largely trained on the same massive pool of public internet data.
Okay, yeah, makes sense.
So over time, the core capabilities of those huge models, they're going to commoditize. Everyone will have access to roughly similar raw power.
So the differentiator isn't the base model.
It's what you do with it. The real lasting value comes from taking one of those powerful pre-trained general purpose models and fine-tuning it, making it an expert using your specific, unique, labeled enterprise data.
Even data from past AI projects that maybe didn't quite work out.
Especially that data. That's gold. You turn that generalist model into a specialist that deeply understands your business, your customers, your processes.
And the tech innovation that really unlocks this tuning process is self-supervised learning.
That's the magic ingredient, if you can call it that. Traditionally, supervised learning meant humans had to manually label every single piece of data. Slow, expensive, painful.
Right.
Self-supervised learning is different. The AI basically teaches itself. It learns by, say, masking parts of the text and then predicting what's missing. It can do this at enormous scale, incredibly fast.
And that gives us these foundation models that are generalizable and adaptable.
Exactly. They're generalizable. They perform pretty well across a wide range of tasks right out of the box. And they're adaptable. They show these amazing emergent capabilities, things they weren't explicitly trained for, and they can be easily fine-tuned for specific domains.
So the value creator grabs one of these powerful pre-trained general models,
Feeds it their own proprietary data.
makes it an expert tailored to their specific business, their brand voice, their values.
And builds a sustainable competitive moat that API callers just can't cross. That's the path.
Okay. So wrapping this all up, what does this mean for you listening right now? We started with that paradox, the need for responsible disruption. How do you navigate that? The sources pointed to 3 key pillars for finding the right balance.
Right. It comes down to leadership, skills, and openness.
Leadership first. What's required?
Leadership has to accept that disruption isn't optional, it's inevitable. They have to lean into it, but responsibly. Just maintaining the status quo. That guarantees you fall behind. Look at Klarna.
The payments company.
Yeah. They're using AI now to handle something like 2/3 of their customer service chats. The savings, the efficiency gains, they're enormous. Their competitors are now scrambling like mad to catch up. That's leadership leaning in.
Okay, leadership, then skills.
This is crucial. Technology always moves faster than people can adapt. Organizations have to get serious about mass upskilling, not just for the techies, for everyone.
Yeah.
Everyone needs to understand how to work with AI, how to use agents effectively, how to prompt well.
Democratize the skills, not just the tools.
You got it. And the final pillar, openness.
Openness. In what sense?
Bet on the open community. The sources mention Hugging Face, the AI Alliance. Support that ecosystem. Use open platforms internally, platforms that let you mix and match different models, maybe open source, maybe proprietary. Choose the best tool for each specific job rather than getting locked into one single vendor.
Avoid vendor lock-in.
And demand transparency. Transparency about how models are trained, what data they used. Because in this new world, it's highly unlikely that one single closed proprietary model is going to be the best at everything. Openness wins.
This all points to a pretty massive cultural shift inside organizations, doesn't it?
Huge. Companies have got to stop thinking of AI as just a cost center, an IT expense. It has to be viewed fundamentally as a value generator.
Because the world needs that productivity boost we talked about earlier.
Desperately. And honestly, the only way most businesses are going to achieve sustained growth going forward is through these massive productivity gains fueled by AI.
So the sources are pretty blunt then. Every leader, every organization faces a choice.
Yeah, they framed it as you can either lift, shift, rift, or cliff your business's future. Lift it with AI, shift it strategically, risk creating a rift with competitors, or, well, of course, falling off the cliff by doing nothing.
The choice is yours.
Distributors can
passive
benefit
user
from the
just
quick
consuming the
cash that
magic,
accounts
or
receivable
you're gonna
factoring
step
can
up,
provide.
Take control,
Contact Chris at
and become
Verson
an
Funding
AI
to get
value
your
creator.
client funded fast.
That's really the question to mull over after this deep dive.
Processing companies can fund their growth using the cash accounts receivable factoring can provide. Contact Chris at Versant Funding to learn if your client is a factoring fit. Factoring can meet the cash needs of staffing companies looking to expand. Contact Chris at Versant Funding to learn if your staffing client is a factoring fit.